Detailed Instructions by Han Shan. If we are to discuss the conditions of this great matter, although it is originally inherent in everyone, actually complete in each individual, lacking nothing at all, nevertheless, for beginningless ages, the seeds of the root of attachment, subjective ideas, and emotional thinking have become so deeply ingrained as habits that they block and cover the subtle light and thwart its real true function. Living totally within the shadows of subjective ideas of body, mind, and the world, you therefore flow in the waves of birth and death. When Buddhas and Zen masters appear in the world, everything they say, all their various techniques expounding Zen and the teachings, are without exception tools for breaking attachments according to the situation. Basically, there is no real doctrine to give people. So-called cultivation is just clearing away the reflections of force of habit and false thinking, according to one's own mind. Insofar as effort is applied to this, it is called cultivation. If false thinking suddenly stops for an instant and you see through your own mind the vastness of its original perfect light, the purity of its original state, no thing in it at all, this is called awakening. There is nothing to be awakened or cultivated other than this mind. Because the substance of mind is like a mirror, the reflections of subjective thinking climbing around on objects are just dust and dirt on the true mind. That is why it is said, the forms of thoughts are dust, the feelings of consciousness are dirt. If false thoughts are melted down, the original substance itself appears. It is just like polishing a mirror. When the dirt is cleaned off, clarity appears. It is naturally like this, but we humans have accumulated aeons of ingrained habits that have become hard and fast. The roots of self-love are deep and hard to pull out. In the present life, if we have the fortune to know for ourselves what is intrinsic through the inner influence of inherent insight outwardly inspired by good friends, so we aspire to understand and shed birth and death, to tear out the very root of immeasurable ages of birth and death all at once. How could this be a small matter? If you are not a person of great power and capacity who can bear it alone and plunge right in with a single sword, it is truly the most difficult thing there is. When an ancient said that it is like opposing 10,000 people all alone, he wasn't fooling. On the whole, in this final age of the teaching, there are many practitioners, but few who succeed in genuine appreciation and application. There are many who waste power and few who attain power. Why is this? Generally because they have not taken a direct approach. They just use their subjective feelings to evaluate things based on previously learned opinions, intellectual interpretations, and verbal expressions. Suppressing random thoughts, they work at the gateway of shadows of a light. First, they take mysterious words and marvelous ancient sayings of people and store them in their chests, making them out to be real doctrines, taking them for their own knowledge and vision, not knowing that it is utterly useless in this context. That is precisely what is meant by the saying, reliance on others for understanding blocks the gateway of one's own awakening. Now, if you are going to do the work, first you must set aside intellectual interpretations and just work precisely on one thought with certain faith in the original purity of your own mind. Completely untrammeled, round and bright, it fills the universe. Originally, there is no body, mind, or world, and no false ideas or emotional thinking. This one thought, itself originally unconceived, manifests all sorts of objects, all illusory and unreal. They are only reflections appearing in the true mind. When you see through them in this way, then in the emergence and disappearance of wandering thoughts, you can see for sure at a glance where thoughts arise and where they pass away. Focus your effort in this way, and no matter what wandering thoughts may occur, the moment you confront them, they shatter, melt, and crumble away. Do not go along with them, and don't continue them. This is what Young Chia meant when he said, it is essential to cut off the continuing mind. After all, the insubstantial drifting mind is fundamentally rootless. Under no circumstances should you make it out to be something real lying in your chest. The moment it appears, repudiate it. Once you repudiate it, then it vanishes. Don't try to suppress it, for you will go along with it, making it like a gourd bobbing on water. You just need to set body, mind, and the world to one side and bring up this one thought, simply and precisely, like a precious sword across the sky. Whether Buddha or devil, you cut them off equally, like cutting through tangled threads, pushing them to the side to move ahead. So-called direct, straightforward mindfulness of reality as such. Straightforward mindfulness involves no thought. If you can observe without thought, you can said to be heading for the wisdom of Buddhas. The very first inspiration to practice requires certain faith in the teaching of mind alone. Buddha said the triple world is only mind, myriad things are only consciousness. So many Buddhist teachings only explain this saying, clearly enabling every individual to believe in it. The two main roads of the ordinary mortal and the sage are simply the two roots of confusion and awakening within one's own mind. All good and bad causes and effects are totally ungraspable outside this mind. Our subtle essence is natural. Originally, it is not in the domain of realization, so how can it get lost? Now, when we say it is lost, that just means one does not understand there is originally not a single thing in one's own mind, and one has not realized the original emptiness of body, mind, and world. Being obstructed by them, it is said to be lost. Operating only with the fluctuating mind thinking subjectively, taking that for truth, people therefore take all sorts of illusions associated with objects of the six senses to be realities. Now, when you aspire to go against the current and attain transcendence, it is totally essential to shed your previous knowledge and understanding completely. No knowledge or technique is applicable. It is just a matter of seeing right through your own present body, mind, and world. All are illusory reflections of ephemeral light manifested in your own mind, like images in a mirror, like the moon reflected in water. Look upon all sounds as like wind passing through the trees. Look upon all objects as like clouds floating through the sky, all of them illusory, unreal things. Not only are externals like this, your own mind's subjective notions and emotional thinking, the seeds of the roots of all attachments, forces of habits, and psychological afflictions, are empty, ephemeral, illusory, and unreal. Looking deeply in this way, whenever a thought arises, be sure to check where it's going. Don't let it go too easily, and don't be deceived or deluded by it. When you work in this way, you are approaching true attentiveness. Other than this, if you spread out mysteries and marvels, knowledge and views, techniques and methods to linger over, you are completely out of touch. So the fact is that explaining how to do the work is also just an expedient. It is like the use of military force. Weapons, being instruments of ill omen, are only to be used when it cannot be avoided. Similarly, when the ancients spoke of bringing up sayings to study Zen, it was all because they could not help but do so. Although there are many gung an, the saying, "Find out who is really invoking the name of Buddha," is the one with which it is most easy to attain power in the midst of worldly toils. While it is easy to attain power with it, nevertheless, it is like a piece of tile used to knock on a door. In the end, it is to be discarded, though not without putting it to use once. To employ this to do work right now, you must trust it completely, rely on it steadily, and persevere in it continuously. Be sure not to vacillate. It won't do to be like this today and like that tomorrow, worrying you won't get enlightened, or disliking this as not mysterious or marvelous. These thoughts and calculations are all obstructions. It is necessary to explain them away first, so doubts and worries do not arise on specific occasions. When you have done the work to the point where you have attained some power, and external objects do not enter in, but there are afflictions inside the mind arising arbitrarily in unruly ways. It may be desirous thoughts coming out, or psychological turmoil, or hang-ups of all sorts, tiring your mind and sapping your energy beyond your control. These are seeds of forces of habit, stored in your repository consciousness over incalculable ages, now coming out under the pressure of the work. It is absolutely necessary that this point be distinctly clear. You must see through these phenomena to begin with and pass right through them. Be sure not to be trapped by them. Be sure not to fiddle around with them, and be sure not to take them for realities. Just clarify your spirit, exert yourself, and pluck up your courage. Take up the sayings you are looking into and use it to chase away these thoughts when they arise. There are originally no such things in us. Ask where they come from and ultimately what they are. Be sure to see what they come down to. Keep on pushing like this and you'll simply make spirits and ghosts weep. You'll obliterate tracks and traces. Strive to drive them all into extinction, not leaving any at all. Apply effort in this way and you'll naturally see some good news. The moment you push all the way through, all errant thoughts will fall away at once, like the shadows of flowers in the sky dropping, like the waves of a mirage settling. Once you've gone through this, you'll gain immeasurable ease and comfort, immeasurable freedom. This is the beginner's empowerment. It is not considered a mysterious marvel. Now, when you reach ease and freedom, still do not become joyful. If you become joyful, the demon of joy will stick to your mind and add yet another kind of obstacle. If you come to forces of habit and seeds of the root of attachment that are so firmly rooted deep in the unconscious that a saying can exert no effect on them, then look into where the mind's perception cannot reach. If you can't do anything yourself, then perform prostrations before Buddhas, recite scriptures, and practice repentances. You also need to inwardly hold the essence of sacred spells, relying on the esoteric symbols of Buddha to dispel these obstacles. Because the esoteric spells are all impressions of the indestructible mind of Buddhas, when we use them, it is like wielding a diamond club, smashing everything into atomic particles. The secret of the mind seal of the Buddhas and Zen masters since high antiquity is not beyond this. Therefore it is said that the Buddhas of the 10 directions hold the essence of spells, attaining unexcelled, universal, true enlightenment. In the schools of the Zen masters, it was feared that this would fall into common emotion, so it was kept secret and not spoken of. It's not that it wasn't used. This should be done on a regular daily basis. Over a long period of time, it becomes pure and mature, and very much power is gained. Just refrain from wanting or seeking spiritual experiences. The Poisoned Sea by Che Xue. If Zen students have not shed their stage of vision and have not forgotten their knowledge of principle, they have fallen into the sea of liberation. Their emotionalized perception is not yet erased. Their objectivized perceptions are not yet empty. They are totally a mass of ignorance, composed of conditioned consciousness. As long as the mass of ignorance, composed of conditioned consciousness, is not broken up, and the poisoned sea of liberation is not dried up, this is precisely the root of birth and death. No Separation by Sui Yen. One moon appears everywhere in all bodies of water. The moons in all bodies of water are contained in one moon. This is a metaphor for one mind producing myriad things, and myriad things producing one mind. This refers to dream illusions, flowers in the sky, half seeming, half empty. What if drifting clouds cover the sky? Where is the clear light in the waters? Here, if you open up the eye of true insight, you will see that the moon has never not been there. The light has never disappeared. Light and dark are as one. Death and life have no separation. 24 Hours a Day by Ming Pen. People who are really and truly doing the work are intent on it 24 hours a day, as intent as if they were saving their heads from burning, as if they were facing 10,000 adversaries single-handed. When would they find the leisure time to be obsessed with their personal lives or worldly conditions? And what leisure time do they have to seek edification from others? What idle time, furthermore, do they have to question others, to look for sayings and statements, to seek interpretation and understanding? Some people are at a loss and helpless if they don't get instruction from someone for 3 days. They're all in a whirl, chasing illusions. They are not doing the work. In general terms, people doing the work are like thieves intent on stealing others' valuables. When thieves walk, they are walking intent on stealing. And when they are sitting intent on stealing. When at leisure, they are intent on stealing at leisure. Why would they willingly reveal their intention of stealing so others could see? The keener their intent to steal, the more they keep it a hidden secret. If you can be like this in every state of mind and every moment of thought, and continue thus unremittingly for a long time, surely you will reach the stage of the ancients. This is not like those who are unable to be the master steadily 24 hours a day, but just want to forcibly be the master while going along with the whirl of random thoughts, rushing to their cushions to imitate a posture while frantically seeking, thought after thought, unwilling to stop and rest. How can they ever find accord? Buddha's Treasury of Light by Liao An. I observe the Buddha's treasury of light producing all oceans of light. Whether sage or ordinary mortal, animate or inanimate being, none are not endowed with this body of light and openly demonstrating the function of this light. Root and branches are completely included. Withdrawal and expansiveness are uninhibited. Self-help and helping others are inexhaustible. It is like the sun rising in the sky, shining on all without discrimination. The illuminator and the illumined are both empty and silent, while all sentient beings benefit from the light, accomplishing their individual tasks. They never know each other and don't rely on each other. No one knows why it is as it is, but that does not diminish the illumination provided by the sunshine. This is like the inherent spiritual light. It is not gotten from another, yet those who are blind to it do not awaken. Are they blind to the end? If they can return to the light in an instant, it will be the same as having been there all along. So it is said, the path is not far from people, it is realized in this very mind. Is that not so? The Pure Land by White Zi. The Pure Land is only mind. There is no land outside mind. In this land that is only mind, there is no east in the east, no west in the west. All directions are contained in it. The so-called Buddha lands, numerous as atoms in the 10 directions, are all realms within one's own Pure Land. The Buddhists of past, present, and future, numerous as grains of sand in the Ganges River, are Buddhas in one's own Pure Land. Even Amitabha Buddha of the world of bliss is simply one Buddha of one realm of one's own Pure Land. The Sword of Zen by Wu Qian. Of old it has been said, there are basically no words for the way, but we use words to illustrate the way. It is also said, if speech does not avoid cliché, how can it get you out of bondage? If powerful people are like long swords against the sky, cold and stern, inviolable, then they will finally have some freedom. The Great Way by Pao Chi. The Great Way is always present, but though it's present, it's hard to see. If you want to understand the true essence of the way, do not get rid of sound and form, words and speech. Words and speech are themselves the Great Way. You do not need to remove afflictions. Afflictions are originally empty and null. Arbitrary feelings may wrap you up, but all are like shadows, like echoes. Who knows what is bad, what good? If you consciously grasp forms as real, your insight into essence will surely be imperfect. If you deliberately perform works seeking Buddhahood, these works are major evidences of birth and death. While works of birth and death always follow you, you remain unawakened in a pitch-dark hell. Once you have realized the principle, there has never been a difference. After awakening, who is late, who early? The realm of reality is as vast as cosmic space. It is the knowing mind of sentient beings that is small. Just as long as you do not become egotistic and selfish, you will be ever sated with the spiritual food of nirvana. Naturalness by Fu Xianhui. What is coming from nowhere? It means not depending on any practices. What is going nowhere? It means not grasping any doctrine. What is detachment from past existence? It means not dwelling on traces of the past, detaching from labels, and not intellectualizing anything. What is detachment from present existence? It means the present mind is unaffected by the duality of being and non-being. What is detachment from future existence? It means the mind does not grasp the future, but realizes the naturalness of things. Virtue and Knowledge by Pai Chang. It is better to settle the inner truth first, and then afterwards gain virtue and knowledge. As long as you are bound by all sorts of things, existent and non-existent, you cannot be free. This is because you first possess virtue and knowledge before being firmly established in inner truth, so we are ridden by virtue and knowledge. It is like menials employing a noble. As was said, it is better to settle the inner truth first, and then afterwards gain virtue and knowledge. Then if you need virtue and knowledge, as the occasion appears, you will be able to turn gold into earth and earth into gold, change seawater into buttermilk, smash the polar mountain into dust, and place the waters of the 4 oceans in a single pour. You create unlimited meanings within one meaning and make one meaning of unlimited meanings. Tact by Dogen. When you see others as errors and you want to guide them because you think they are wrong and you feel compassion for them, you should employ tact to avoid angering them and contrive to appear as if you were talking about something else. Appearance and Reality by Dogen. Most people of the world want others to know when they have done something good and want others not to know when they have done something bad. If you refrain from doing something because people would think ill of it, or if you try to do good so others will look upon you as a true Buddhist, these are still worldly feelings. If you have compassion and are imbued with the spirit of the way, it is of no consequence to be criticized, even reviled by the ignorant. But if you lack the spirit of the way, you should be wary of being thought of by others as having the way. What you think in your own mind to be good, or what people of the world think is good, is not necessarily good. If people who keep up appearances and are attached to themselves gather together to study, not one of them will emerge with an awakened mind. You should not be esteemed by others if you have no real inner virtue. Practicing Truth by Dogen. People of the world cannot necessarily be considered good. Let them think whatever they will. To leave the world means that you do not let the feelings of worldly people hang on your mind. You should think about the fact that you will surely die. This truth is indisputable. Even if you don't think about the inevitability of death, you should determine not to pass your time in vain. Our lives are only here for now. If you want to travel the way of Buddhas and Zen masters, then expect nothing, seek nothing, and grasp nothing. Morals by Dogen. No one should torment people or break their hearts. Just regard people's virtues. Don't be obsessed with their faults. People should cultivate secret virtue. No matter how bad a state of mind you may get into, if you keep strong and hold out, eventually the floating clouds must vanish and the withering wind must cease. Do not be so proud as to hope to equal the great sages. Do not be so mean as to hope to equal the ignoble. To plow deep but plant shallow is a way to natural disaster. If you help yourself but harm others, how could there be no consequences? Understanding. Although the way is complete in everyone, realization of the way depends on a combination of conditions. Truth is not greater or lesser, but people are shallow or deep. Attitude by Dogen. Even if you are in a high place, don't forget you may fall. Even if you are safe, don't forget danger. Even though you are alive today, don't assume you will be alive tomorrow. Even if it is painful and lonely, associate with worthy companions. Consider how you will travel the path without taking notice of slander from others, without heeding resentment from others. Do not think of studying Buddhism in order to gain some advantage as a reward for practicing Buddhism. Everyone has great faults, and pride is the greatest fault. Prefer to be defeated in the presence of the wise than to excel among fools. If the mentality that seeks honor and advantage does not cease, you will be ill at ease all your life. Students of the way must individually examine their own selves. If the heart is not empty, it will not admit truthful words. Everyday Zen by Nan. People see others in terms of themselves. If you are ambitious, that is the way you see others. If you are greedy, you see others in terms of desire. When you are deluded, you are used by your body. When you are enlightened, you use your body. If there is any judgment in your heart, it will be blocked by that judgment. There is no Buddha outside your heart. Always keep a pure, clean heart. Observations by Torre. When you die, you go alone. Who goes with you? What can you take along with you? Although their fundamental essence is the same, awakened people turn inward, while emotional and intellectual people pursue externals. If you want to realize the essence that is the same as all Buddhas, first you must clearly understand the root of ignorance. When people seeking enlightenment see forms, they question what it is that sees. When they hear, they question what it is that hears. When they feel, they question what it is that feels. When they know something, they question what it is that knows. When you're busy and easily distracted, question what it is that gets distracted. Zen Proverbs. Unless the medicine stuns you, it won't cure the disease. Flowing water doesn't go stale. Who can be master in any place and meet the source in everything? You too can be host within the world and also come as a guest from outside creation. It is not gotten from another. The hungry will eat anything. The thirsty will drink anything. When your heart is crooked, you don't realize your tongue is forked. If you have a reason, you don't need to shout. Suspicion in the mind makes ghosts in the dark. The nobility of the ancients was no more than purity and serenity. What need for bushels and emblems? Don't brag so much. A beautiful bird needn't boast.